The haunted bus of St. Augustine. It was a humid summer evening in St. Augustine, Florida, as Mia and her friends, Jake and Natalie, waited at a desolate bus stop on the edge of town. They had spent the day exploring the historic sites and ghost tours the city was famous for. Their phones were nearly dead, and the streets were eerily silent. "I swear this bus schedule is ancient," Jake muttered, staring at the faded timetable. Natalie checked her watch. "It's almost midnight. Let's hope the bus comes soon." Mia glanced down the empty street. The thick fog rolling in seemed to swallow the city whole, muffling even the faint sounds of distant cars. Just as she was about to suggest calling a cab, headlights pierced through the mist. "Finally," Jake sighed in relief. The bus was old, with peeling paint and rusted edges. The destination sign above the windshield flickered erratically, displaying Route 666 before cutting off entirely. "Creepy," Natalie whispered, but they all boarded anyway. Inside, the bus smelled of damp leather and faintly of sulfur. The seats were worn, and the windows were so foggy that nothing outside could be seen. An elderly driver with hollow eyes and a blank expression sat behind the wheel, silently nodding as they paid the fare. As they took their seats, Mia noticed something unsettling. There were other passengers, but they all sat unnaturally still, their faces hidden under wide-brimmed hats or turned toward the windows. Jake nudged Mia. "Why is it so cold in here?" He rubbed his arms, shivering. "I don't know," she replied, her voice trembling. The bus began moving, the engine groaning like a wounded animal. The ride was unusually smooth, almost as if the vehicle were gliding rather than driving. Mia looked out the window, but could only see darkness. No streetlights, no buildings, nothing. "Where are we?" Natalie asked nervously. Jake pulled out his phone to check their location, but it wouldn't turn on. "Dead," he muttered. Mia tried hers. The battery icon flashed once before the screen went black. As the bus journeyed on, a strange sensation washed over them. The air grew thicker, making it hard to breathe, and an unnatural silence enveloped them. Then, faint whispers began to fill the bus, soft, unintelligible, but undeniably there. Mia turned to Natalie. "Do you hear that?" Before she could answer, one of the passengers turned their head slightly. It was a man in a tattered suit, his skin pale and his eyes sunken, like he hadn't seen daylight in decades. "Stop staring," Jake whispered, pulling Mia's attention back. The bus jolted suddenly and the lights flickered. When they steadied, Mia realized the man in the tattered suit was now sitting closer to them. "Did he move?" Natalie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake shrugged, trying to appear calm, but his clenched fists gave away his fear. The whispers grew louder and the bus came to a sudden stop. The driver turned to face the passengers for the first time. His eyes were completely black, like two empty voids. "Next stop," he said, his voice gravely and distorted. The doors creaked open, revealing a scene that made their blood run cold. Outside was an abandoned graveyard, the headstones crooked and overgrown with moss. A thick mist swirled between the graves, and faint shadowy figures seemed to linger among them. "No way we're getting off here," Jake muttered. The other passengers began to rise, moving toward the exit in jerky, unnatural motions. As they passed, Mia noticed their faces, gaunt, lifeless, with hollow eyes that seemed to suck in the surrounding light. "What is this place?" Natalie whimpered. The last passenger stepped off and the doors slammed shut. The bus lurched forward again, neck faster this time. The whispers turned into guttural growls and the windows began to rattle. Mia grabbed Jake's arm. "We have to get off this bus. Are you crazy?" he snapped. Where would we even go?" Natalie pointed to the back of the bus. "Look." The shadowy figures from the graveyard were now inside, crawling toward them. Their movements were slow but deliberate, their empty eyes locked on the trio. "Run!" Mia yelled. They stumbled toward the front of the bus, pounding on the driver's cabin. "Let us off!" Jake shouted. The driver didn't respond. Instead, he began to laugh, a low, guttural sound that echoed through the bus. Thinking quickly, Mia spotted the emergency exit lever near the middle of the bus. She pulled it and the doors flew open, revealing a swirling black void outside. "What is that?" Natalie screamed. "It's our only chance," Mia said, pulling her friends toward the exit. One by one, they jumped into the void, the growls and laughter fading as they fell. When Mia opened her eyes, she was lying on the sidewalk near the original bus stop. Jake and Natalie were beside her, groaning as they sat up. The street was quiet, and the fog had lifted. In the distance, they saw a bus approaching. A modern, clean one with a cheerful driver behind the wheel. They waved it down, but hesitated before boarding. Mia turned to the driver. "This isn't Route 666, is it?" The driver laughed. "Never heard of it? You kids okay?" They nodded, though none of them felt safe. As the bus pulled away,